Hey, and welcome back to the Simply Fitness Podcast. I'm John Stein. On this episode of the podcast, I got a chance to interview Pete Cataldo. We talk about a bunch of things in this podcast, but more specifically, we talk about fat loss foods, what you need to do nutrition-wise for fat loss, and how to find balance with your fitness goals and everyday life. Me and Pete had a great conversation, so enjoy. Man,
it's going well. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Good day here and everything like that. How about you? I know you got yourself out of the city and
Yeah, I escaped. I made the escape. The zombie apocalypse was too much for us to bear, so we called in the reinforcements with the in-laws to take care of the interns, and we are hunkered down now just outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's a nice area. I know.
Yeah.
Lived there for a little bit, so
okay,
it's pretty good. But you're enjoying a little bit more free time now to get to work and everything.
I mean, we're still getting settled, so it's still kind of like the new normal for me. So I haven't really quite had time to breathe just yet. We're still kind of like trying to figure out the schedule and everything. But I mean, that's not fair. Yeah, I mean, there has been a little bit more time to breathe. Yeah. It's obviously with an extra hand or two, but I'm envisioning it's going to take a few more days to get there fully.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine the transition for the kids and everything like that, especially with not being able to do everything they're used to doing,
Right.
So that's awesome. So glad to have you on today. I'm super excited to, pick your brain a little bit and see what you got to say and everything like that. So let's just dive right into it,
Cool, man. Cool.
So I know from following you and, for a while now, for over a year, I see a lot of your content and really fat loss focus. So I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about just some of those topics that, I've seen recently and, what I haven't talked about recently with some people and everything. So first thing is, I know you talk a lot about food and I just saw a big post from you. You're talking about fat loss foods. So what are some foods that people should be focusing on for fat loss? What are some go-to staples, that's within your diet or that you put within your clients' diets that are like, you should probably add these in. They're good to have.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, I mean, let's be truthful. They're, the catchy headline, fat loss foods, so you can see it. But I mean, as you know, there are no fat loss foods.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but there are foods that make it easier to lose fat, sure. Right? So, and for me, for my clients, it's always about, and you probably are in the similar boat, it's all about hitting those protein goals first, because so many people that come to me, they don't realize, and they understand somewhat that protein's important. I should probably eat protein. They see it on labeling all the time. Oh, protein packed, but they don't know, like they're not even close to where they should be. Oh, yeah, and it's something that I've got to work with really, I mean, a lot as far as just getting a client who's just come to me and they're eating, let's say maybe 30, 40 grams of protein per day, when really they should be up more like towards 100, 110 grams of protein per day. So that's where I start with. And for a lot of clients, and, I don't have like one specific set of foods that I tell them to eat. I don't have one specific way of which I tell them to kind of manage how much they eat. But a lot of clients, what I do is I'll start them off and just say, hey, listen, next 2 weeks, all I want to focus on is just making sure you have some protein with every meal. Just start there. This is the bare minimum, just right there. And even that, it can be a bit of a chore for someone who's never really thought of it, or they get suckered into the marketing stuff because some basic candy.
It says high in protein, but it's really like 4 grams of protein.
Exactly.
400 calories.
Exactly. So, that's basically that's essentially where I start with the vast majority of my clients, is just kind of trying to aim at some protein foods. And so with that said, a lot of it is like, just trying to focus on the lean proteins, like the more like basically what we're hitting on here, the more protein per calorie ratio, so that
I think that's really hard for people. that lean protein. They get protein from sources that are filled with lots of fat, like
bacon,
butter, bacon, peanut butter. They think that, I'm getting protein, but they're really getting like 10 grams of protein and 10 grams of fat at the same time, which, as we know, that's a lot of calories. That's a lot of additional stuff that they don't really need to be getting when they could be getting, 6 ounces of chicken. And there you go. That's 30, 40 grams. That's a lot of protein right there for most people. If you just put that little bit of extra, in your diet, that's huge.
Yeah. And the big thing is planning for it. Because that's kind of like the next step is when you're not hitting your protein goals, it's usually a matter of just not thinking ahead of it and kind of getting in what I call macro Tetris, where it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you're plugging in your macros as you go throughout your day. And you're like, oh, I still have 35 grams of protein left, 0 carbs and 27 grams of fat. Like, what am I going to eat that meets all of this? Instead, if you took a few minutes today to think about what you need to do tomorrow, it'd be much easier to hit it. And like you said, don't overthink it. Like that's the next level. If you think about it in 3 layers, right? Yeah. So let's aim for protein, let's plan for the protein, and then find some ways to add more protein. It's like, instead of eating 2 ounces of chicken with your salad, eat 3 or 4 ounces of chicken with your salad. Yeah.
You'd be so much more full. So you'd be less likely to get the, maybe junk food or, some of those trigger foods that you might have. But to touch on that point a little bit about the planning, I was talking with Carrie on my last episode, and something that she does, which I think a lot more people should do, is, plan out your protein, like when you're going grocery shopping, her and her partner, they plan for 4 proteins. They're like, okay, what 4 proteins are we going to get for dinner this week? And just that extra step of thinking ahead helps you actually get it in. If you're just trying to go on the fly, you're more likely to, go for that box of pasta that's in there instead of, defrosting chicken or whatever it may be. It takes a little bit more thought process, but not a lot.
No, and that's the thing. It's really just a simple mindset shift. I mean, something as small as like you mentioned pasta. And what do most people do? They're like, what's for dinner tonight? Oh, we'll have some pasta. And what I try to do is let's shift that a little bit. Mm-hmm. What's for dinner tonight? Chicken, but I'm going to have a little bit of pasta with it. Just that simple shift will go a long way towards getting you towards that goal. And once you start hitting that, a lot of people, if they just added more protein in their diet, they would actually start seeing some weight loss.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Obviously you gotta corral the rest. There are a lot of people who know if they have more protein, it's still a bad look, and they need to corral the rest of the calories. But there are, particularly, a lot of women in the group that come to me, you just simply add more protein in their day because they're really kind of eating at lower levels, calorie levels. Adding that more protein into their diet, they'll start seeing the body composition results that they're actually looking for.
Yeah. I come from a very Italian family.
Same here.
And so so having pasta as the main dish is huge. And I've had to explain to people no, pasta is a side dish. It's not the main dish. You have to have some type of protein incorporated in there, have a little bit of chicken, some ground beef meat sauce, put some meat sauce or a meatball, with it. There you go. You already have a little bit more protein.
Absolutely.
Instead of just that plain pasta, you do get some protein with the cheese and, the ricotta and everything like that, but it's not that much protein. You got to get something a little bit more sustainable in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's it really does all come down to just kind of planning ahead. And one thing I do is, you mentioned a few minutes ago about, the 4 proteins for the week. And it's similar to kind of what I do with my clients is I talk about my 3x3 method. So, so many people do you make a meal plan? Can you make a meal plan for me? And I don't, because I equate it to doing your kid's homework. They might get an A on it, but they didn't learn anything. It
doesn't help anybody.
Exactly. So, I try to empower them, and you start small. You got to build some staples in your diet. My diet's boring. If people are like, what do you eat all that? I've shown you, it's like Greek yogurt, strawberries, some big ass salad every day. And then I'll kind of rotate a few dinners throughout the week. Like if you were to watch me like show you what I eat every single day, like you're gonna be like, again? Like, yeah. So what I do is what I coach is called a 3x3 method. And I encourage you to pick three proteins, 3 carb sources, 3 fat sources. Work around those for a few weeks. Like, you can make eggs 47,000 different ways, so it doesn't have to be boring. Same with chicken.
100%.
Get really good at that. Mix up the proteins a little bit, or the carbs and the fat sources with it a little bit, and you've got a completely different meal. And then when you get good at that, you keep building the skill. You add another protein in there. Now you're at 4, and another carb source. And now you've got all these varieties of foods, and you've slowly built your own meal plan. It's like, oh, look at that. Now you've got this whole repertoire, this whole arsenal of food that you can do, so that your Instagram account will look just as boring as mine with your rotation of foods.
Exactly. That's a great way to think about it, because then if you know your macros, and you can automatically think, oh, I need more protein for the day. You already have that list in your head of like, oh, okay, chicken, beef, whatever the 3 you choose, or I need more carbs today. Okay, let me do this. Or if I need more, fat, like where do I get that from? I think that's a lot of people, they have to kind of learn like what foods have what macronutrients in them. Like what is the food made of? They're just used to just consuming the food, but they don't realize that the body breaks it down. Like there's different components of it. Like what does the food actually consist of? And you're just eating it to eat it, which is great, and sometimes, when you're just going to a family party or a restaurant, okay, just eat to enjoy it. But like every day it's like, okay, what am I eating? What are you putting in your body? And how is it, what is it made of? And how does it help me get to where I want to be?
And I think a lot of that stems from just kind of haphazardly jumping into it without thinking about it, and just consuming the food and just not thinking ahead about the food. Look, you shouldn't run into the gym without a plan. I mean, some people do, they shouldn't. You wouldn't go into a meeting with a business meeting without some sort of agenda. Like you shouldn't approach your eating that way either. Too often we've put ourselves into that culture to where we don't think ahead about it. And once you do start thinking ahead of it, and once you do get comfortable with that rotation of foods, it's like second nature. Yeah. But you have to get there. You have to build a skill. It's just not going to come overnight. Yeah. Like we've been conditioned through this, this Western culture of dieting and eating. Like it's just, it's thrown at us. It's in our face all the time. We have to stop and actually think about it ourselves. And once you start to do that and you build that skill, it'd be so much, so that it's becomes a lifestyle, becomes second nature to you. You don't even have to think about it, but you do have to think about it at first. And that's where people step up.
Yeah, I think that's the first episode of my podcast that I did was all about nutrition and fitness as a skill. Like it's something you have to learn. You don't just pick up one day and you don't just start putting down on the piano and you're, Mozart the next day. That doesn't work. Like it doesn't work like that. It takes time, and you have to give it time and patience to really become a master. Even though we're coaches, we're still working on it. We're still learning, fine tuning our nutrition, and life changes all the time. You get married, you have kids, you have a new job, you're right now at your in-laws house. I bet your nutrition and fitness is going to change because of the new situation you're in. And you always have to be adapting. 10 years from now, both of our nutrition and fitness is going to look completely different than what it looks like right now, just because of
new science, new data, new situations, new experiences.
Exactly. Yeah. But the basics are still going to be the same. Like we're still going to be, in a good place, because we know about protein, we know about carbs, we know about fats, we know what meals include that, what foods include that, what workouts are going to help build muscle, which ones are going to help us, lose fat and everything like that. So learning that skill is so important, that like foundational, information.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like math. Like if we go back to the math analogy, like your kid needs to practice math consistently. Yeah. Consistently. When once you stop, like all of a sudden, like, you start to, kind of fall back a little bit. So, and that's what this is. And like you said, even coaches do this too. So if we're doing this too, you definitely you gotta think ahead about this stuff. You got to learn it. You got to practice it.
Yeah. Always finding new methods there. So to dive a little bit deeper, kind of like nutrition wise, I know we kind of already touched about this with like the fat loss foods, but other than protein, what do you think people should be focusing on nutrition wise? So we talked a lot about protein. Now, is there something else or something that people should be kind of looking at if they want to lose fat nutrition wise?
Yeah, I think, get away from, I think I picked this soundbite up from Craig Ballantyne, one of the famous coaches from back in the day. But it was like, don't eat anything in a bag or a box. So I think we tend to get what we mean by that is too many processed foods, not enough whole nutritious foods. Mm-hmm. And you can call it eating clean, whatever you want to call it. But, too often people are skipping on vegetables. They have a fear of fruit for sugar, whatever, eating too many, pastas, too many pre-made foods, settling for too many protein bars and protein shakes. And they get into the habit of, I can have a protein shake and a candy bar and that hits my protein and I still flexible dieting, bro. And it's like, no, you can technically, look at the Twinkie diet. Yes, you can technically eat crap and lose weight. Cool. You're not going to look great. You're not going to feel great doing it. You're not going to perform well at all. So one of the things that after protein, the next level is so many people are skipping on the vegetables. And this is I try to cover my bases. I try to have a big, huge salad every single day. And I put several handfuls of leafy vegetables into it. And I encourage everybody to aim for at least 3 to 4 really big handfuls of vegetables. Mm-hmm. You should probably get more, and you should probably have it with each meal. And people are shocked, what? That's a lot of vegetables. I'm like, yeah, you need them. So I would say that's next, because if you see some of the serving sizes and portion sizes of vegetables, it is, we got our priorities all kinds of mixed up. Back to the pasta analogy, huge plate of pasta, small little dose of protein, and extremely small, barely visible portion of vegetables. Oh, I got some vegetables. No, you didn't.
You need those lack of that lack of processed foods. I think that is a great way. I like to teach that, when you're in the grocery store, think of it like a racetrack. You want to stay on the outside. That's where all the fresh stuff is. The inside, that's where all the processed foods are, your pastas, your cookies, your, cakes, everything like that. You probably should limit, that's 20% of your food should come from in those, outside, the necessities like hot sauce and coffee, that are in the middle. But, you can't live without those stuff. Right. For sure.
Right. Yeah. Coffee. Yeah. We need the coffee. No, but you're right. You shop around the perimeter, prioritize those nutrient dense foods. And, even from, when we're talking about carbs and fats, your carb sources, instead of, pasta's fun. It's fantastic. Yeah. I'm half Italian. Yes. Yeah. But, you will feel better if you were aiming for more things like potatoes. Yes. Potatoes, even the white potatoes. It's okay. You can have white potatoes. I promise. So, things like potatoes, or, if you're aiming for a pasta, maybe even try some things like chickpea pastas are fantastic. It's a little more of a complex carb. It's going to fill you up a little bit more. It's going to give you at least a little bit more nutrients, and get creative with it. So when you're making a pasta with a meat sauce, toss some spinach into the sauce. It will wilt down. You won't even really taste it. No. Do the same with, I'm famous for throwing a couple of handfuls of spinach in my smoothies when I make them. I don't make a bunch of those anymore, but if I do, I'm always making sure I'm throwing some sort of vegetable in there, because again, you can't taste it. And now I've had
Yeah, no, for sure. That's easy way. If no one's ever cooked spinach before and sauteed it, it comes from like a giant bag, and
oh my goodness, that's ridiculous.
You get a serving like this big, and you're like, is that really the same amount? It is. And you can get quite amount of vegetables in such a small serving.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I definitely do love that. Getting those, I actually just wrote a whole article about like getting veggies in, and that I think is like one of the best ways is just to hide it within some of the foods, you know, like you said, the meat sauce or in your smoothie. I think that's a great way for people to start just, you know, kind of getting used to the idea of eating vegetables. Cause I think that is kind of, a lot of people are veggie adverse. Mm-hmm. You know, they go into it with, I hate veggies. And I'm like, not really. You should really kind of switch that to, I haven't found a vegetable I like yet.
Yeah.
Because there are so many vegetables out there. Like if you walk into the produce aisle, like there are 15 to 20 different vegetables right there. You know, choose one and you could cook it 10 different ways, you know, spices, sauces, you know, you can hide it whatever way you want. Try it out. You know, there are so many different ways. Like I've gotten a lot into like sauteing recently, you know, some olive oil, throw in a pan, mushrooms, onions, spinach, you know, whatever vegetable you want, green beans, you know, you can cook so many, throw some spices on it, bam, they're delicious. You don't even doesn't really even taste like, you know, spinach. You're just eating like garlic. It tastes like garlic and onions. And there you go. That's so much more nutritious than people kind of think that they can't do that stuff.
Yeah, you got to just get creative with it. And then don't fall into the trap of, well, I had it once, it sucked. Like, all right, what did you do? Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you did something, maybe you can do something a little bit better the next time. You know, something that you can, you know, add some more spice to it. You know, play around with it, with the different protein that you're eating and the carb that you're eating with it. You know, there are, or, you know, and if you truly don't like it, cool, but at least give it a couple of chances before you move on to the next one, throw your hands up and be like, no, that's it. I'm done. Yeah. I had one bite. Oh, it's awful. Like now we're acting like our kids, like stop.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great way, especially, you know, as a parent to think about, like, you wouldn't just have your kids try something once and say they dislike it. You know, you got to be the same way with, you know, your, you know, especially vegetables. Like you got to try it at least a couple different ways. Roast and if you do it,
like you said, saute them, roast them, boil them, like mix them up with your omelets, like have some fun with it.
Yeah. I know. Like I think about my grandma, she doesn't like beets, but she tries them all the time because she's just like, I know they're good for you and I want to like them, but I've tried them like 6 or 7 times in my life and I just don't like them, you know, but she consistently has tried it, you know, into her 70s. Like she just still tries them every once in a while, you know? So like, you got to just give it a go. You know, you're not going to like everything, but I guarantee you will like at least one vegetable, you know, even if it's, you know, asparagus wrapped in bacon, you know, or, you know, like whatever, cheesy broccoli, you know, like there'll be something out there that'll help you get into it. And eventually, you know, you'll learn that they're not all that bad and you can make them taste better than they do. You know, I don't really eat too many raw vegetables unless I'm in a salad, you know, like there's not too many vegetables that I'm just going to eat raw because most vegetables raw are pretty gross. You know, they're not, you know, maybe carrots or cucumbers, red peppers, you know, like those are great, but you know, otherwise I'm going to be putting some dressing on them, airing them with some chicken, you know, putting some almonds in there, something like that to mask that taste, you know? So it can be tough, you know, to do that, but just like the protein, you got to try a little bit, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, you know, just trying a vegetable is a victory. I think a lot of people discount those small little victories, you know, oh, I got 60 grams of protein versus 30. That's a victory. That's a win.
That's a win. You know, that's a win. Build off of that. Be fine. Be comfortable. Give yourself permission to puff your chest out like Superman. Yeah. You know, celebrate those small wins and build the momentum. You know, don't look at it from the standpoint, oh, well, I only got 60. I'm supposed to get to 100. No, you got 60. That's fantastic. Now let's get 60 tomorrow and the next day, and then get to 70 the next day, and then 70. Like keep building it, and understand that this is a lifestyle. This is a journey. And that's part of the thing too, is that we're so wrapped up in, and the media magazines, they don't do us any favors, like 12 weeks to a 6-pack. No,
yeah.
no, just stop putting a timeline on this. Stop trying to rush through it. The one of the biggest reasons why dieters fail is because, let's say you hit that goal in 12 weeks. So what's your plan after the 12 weeks?
Yeah.
That's the most important question.
Yeah.
Because, the formula for losing weight is pretty simple: eating a calorie deficit.
Yeah, exactly.
But what happens when you get there? What are the habits that you created that allowed you to get there so that you can sustain this, and you're not, a year later saying, well, I need to go back to my 12-week plan.
Yeah.
That's not what I want for my clients. That's not what I want for anybody. So,
no.
It's about building those habits and that foundation so that you can continue this for life.
Yeah. Are you building it off of, those skills that, we were talking about? Are you building, on those unimportant skills like an unhealthy relationship with food, long cardio workouts that are, beating up your body? Or are you building, calorie deficit, healthy relationship with food, getting veggies, protein in your diet, strength training, some cardio maybe. Are you doing those things, or are you crash dieting, eating 1,000 calories? That's not sustainable. And, I agree. Like, you see all this stuff, you see these celebrities that are, actors trying to get fit for a movie role. And it's like, 12 weeks to become Chris Hemsworth in, Marvel's Endgame. It's like, no, like, they're getting paid millions of dollars, have teams.
That is their job.
Yeah, that is their job. Like, I wish, like, we're coaches, but like, we're still not getting paid millions of dollars to be super fit. I would, work out all the time if I was getting paid millions of dollars to do that. If I was, athletes work out all the time because that's their job to do that. And that their livelihood depends on them being fit. Our livelihood doesn't really revolve around that. It revolves around being healthy, being with your family. Our everybody's life doesn't revolve around that. I think people have that misconception that, of course it'd be easier if I was getting paid millions of dollars to, work out every day,
Right. Yeah. Our job is not to be in shape. Our job is to help you get in shape. Yeah. We just set that example by being in shape ourselves because it's our passion, is what we want to do. Yeah. And, you see these, and to be honest, to be fair, I mean, a lot of, like, if you see a celebrity transformation for a major movie role, in some instances, yes, you're seeing there are probably some really crazy crash dieting situations. Mm-hmm. In other cases, we're talking about people who are instead probably elevating their flux and their metabolism by working out 3-4 hours a day and eating a ridiculous amount of food and protein. So what you're thinking by, Chris Hemsworth was probably eating 1,500 calories a day. No, he was probably eating closer to 4,000 calories a day, but working out 3 or 4 hours a day, or maybe even twice a day for 6 months. Like, totally different situation that you can't, it's impossible unless, like we said, it is your job.
Yeah. You can't emulate what they're doing because most of us don't have the resources to do that. We don't have a cook, a dietitian who's putting together all our meals, just kind of feeding them to us, and trainer working up with us every day and creating a plan and, whatever. But so we got to have some realistic expectations with that long term. So I think that's great. Kind of moving in a kind of slightly different direction now, talking about, like, with everything going on and everything like that, and kind of like a little bit more into, like, your situation and what you're doing as a parent. Like, what have you found that has helped, found a balance between your fitness goals and raising kids and having a family? Like, I know a lot of people's situation is that they don't have time, or they haven't been able to find that balance. And, especially, you just have 2 kids now and life is crazy. I can't even imagine that right now, how much different my life would be. But how have you found balance with that? Because at least from, following you on Instagram and everything like that, it seems like you've really found kind of like some type of system. And what advice would you kind of give people to help find that balance?
It's a work in progress. It's ever evolving. So even now that we're here with my in-laws, like the schedule changes and it's always going to change. Everything things adapt. So, like as my son, who just turned 1 a month and a half ago, he's he sleeps well and sometimes he doesn't. And then the schedule is going to be thrown off, and you need to be okay with the fact that that's going to be thrown off. So what I try to do, and I encourage, and I work with a lot of parents too. So a lot of busy parents, because I feel that for them, and I spent the first couple of years doing the stay at home, work at home thing with my daughter. I'm very attuned and very much relatable when it comes to what it's like to be a stay-at-home parent and not really having the time or the energy to do the stuff. So my advice is always, when it comes to finding that balance, is to do what you can do. Stop beating yourself up over it. If you've got time, if you only have time to get into your workout and get the first set done, that's it. Okay, you did something. Okay. Yeah. I just encourage you to be as active as possible outside of that. So instead of sitting on the couch and looking at your phone and letting your kids do screen time or playing with their Legos, whatever it is, get up and move around with them. Like go out and play sports games. Obviously, right now it's a little difficult to get outside.
Yeah.
So, but inside, you throw the music on and do dance with your kids a little bit. Yeah. Just try to find areas outside of that you can make up for it. And then do what you can do. Try to establish as much of a regular schedule as you can, knowing that schedule needs to be flexible. Planning ahead for it. I'm big on planning. So I set my intentions for the week. Every Sunday night I sit down. I'm like, okay, what's coming up this week? What's on the schedule? How can I make sure I hit this? What's going to be the obstacle that's going to prevent me from hitting this when it does happen? And how am I going to adapt to it? You really do have to think ahead. You need to work in pockets too. So understanding that, okay, when the kids go down for a nap, I've got maybe an hour, 15 minutes of that hour, I'm going to be questioning my existence to live. The next 15 minutes, maybe I can get my mind right and do something. Then the next 15 minutes, I'm going to realize that I'm on borrowed time. I'm going to wake up any minute. So I got to get prepared for that. But all kidding aside, seriously, it just, you got to be comfortable doing what you can do. You have to, try to keep as much routine as possible, because the kids need that too. And they enjoy that and they look forward to it. And then, just try to be as active as possible. It will go a long way towards just feeling better. Even just getting away from fat loss. If you just, you move around your house if you can as much as possible. I know that it's difficult to get outside right now. So just try to do what you can to move around and stay active in the house as possible. You will feel better. You will sleep better. You will have more energy. You won't get that 4 o'clock, I need a cup of coffee situation. If you were just actively kind of just being more mindful of it. You'll see some people who are their entire day, they get maybe 3,000 steps, and it's whoa, that's bad. That's you're just getting up just to go to the bathroom.
You gotta, and I think that's, awesome advice. I think that's great, especially, I think that could help anybody, not, just parents in general, but take the time, whatever you have, whether it's, the first set of an exercise, a 10-minute walk, and at lunch break, those things add up. That just helps you, like you said before, build that momentum, even if it's not today that you got the full workout in, maybe tomorrow you're able to get the full workout in. And it was because of yesterday you did just that little bit, just helps add on, and you can, kind of build that house from there. They don't just plant a house in the ground. You got to build it up brick by brick. Exactly. And so each day I set my intentions for the week, and then each night I'll go through and create my to-do list for the day. And I have what I kind of call my minimum effective dose, just really, I have what I call my do or die task. It's the most important thing I got to do for the day. And then I have kind of a list of things that are kind of menial tasks.
I try to get my do or die test done, like as I'm doing, like before I've finished my coffee. Like it's like important for me to kind of build up momentum in the morning. That way, in case just if everything, planned, like at least I got that do or die test done. But some days that doesn't happen. And some days you need to be comfortable just going to that do or die task just to build momentum. Just like the importance of some people are really big on making their bed because it's just something I did and I crossed it off my to-do list. So like if that's what that is for you, if you need to do a bunch of low hanging fruit tasks so you can get moving, do that, but do something. Like you gotta get after it somehow. Find whatever that is for you. And then again, like I was saying, like be adaptable, knowing that someday it might not be making the bed. It might be that you need to handle your big task for the day. So be okay with that. But do something.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think both ways really work. I think that even that low hanging fruit, if you found yourself in a rut, find 2 or 3 things that you can do right now. Like, okay, I can do the dishes, I can make my bed and, do something else, whatever it may be, that helps you just build that momentum. And especially if I find when I'm like in a rut and I'm like take 1 or 2 days where I just have not been productive, have not gotten anything really done. I'm like, okay, what can I do right now? Because that's going to help me feel better about myself. Let's just get it done. Check it off. Like I have my must do's every day. And most of those tasks are pretty minimal tasks, like put out a tweet or, talk to somebody today. Simple. I can send a message, and I like to do those things every morning. Like those are my first thing to do. Okay. Let me tweet this morning. Let me, shoot out a message to a couple of my followers, let them know I'm here for them. Let me talk to a client or two, see what they're doing and how they're feeling. And that just helps you like really start that day. Okay. Now I'm ready. Let me crush my big thing, So I think that's like a great way, for anybody to really kind of get yourself going in that right direction.
Yeah, and it's not even about fitness and health. It's about productivity in general. Like just kind of building that momentum, whatever that looks like for you, so that you can get it done. You want to take it. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I'll find myself in the same thing. And I try to keep things very minimal. Like you said, like maybe it's just a tweet or just an Instagram post. Like that's, that if I do more, awesome. Sure. So like bringing it back to fat loss, like, okay, I'm going to have a little bit of protein with this meal. If it's more, then awesome. Like I'm going to do this first set of this workout. If I can get in another one, awesome. Stop thinking like I'll have some clients who come to me and like maybe they missed a workout and they'll say like, okay, I'm going to get all 4 workouts in this week and I'm going to be awesome. And I'll say, no, I want you to get 1 workout in. We'll go from there. Just get the 1 workout in. Just start slow, start here, because you end up with the lofty goal. And then what happens when you don't hit? Now you're back down on yourself again. No, let's be happy with that 1 workout. That felt great. Cool. Let's go on to the next one. Like a football analogy, like, just 1 game at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
1 game at a time.
I see the same thing. A lot of people who try to jump headfirst into the deep end without knowing how to swim yet. Like, okay, let's take a little bit day by day. I like that, instead of doing, you have a workout plan of 4 workouts. If you get 1 to start off with, great. Let's then do 2 and 3 and doing that from there. Cause honestly, you're not going to be perfect, unless you've been doing it for a while. Even then you're never perfect. And you don't have to be perfect. You can, as you've probably seen, 80,
never the goal.
Yeah. 80, if you hit 80%, you're going to hit almost all of your goals. It might take a little bit longer, but you're still going to get there. Like it's not about if you're going to get there. It's going to be, okay, when are you going to get there type of deal by hitting that 80%. So I think that people need to stop being so perfectionist in their mindset with everything, but especially with fat loss and fitness in general.
Yeah, this stuff takes time. So buckle up for the journey, flex your patience muscle, and be okay with not being perfect, because you won't be.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome, Pete. It was great talking with you today. Where can people find you?
Sure. So you can find me online. Basically, just search my name, Pete Cataldo. So PeteCataldo.com. I post quite a bit of stuff to my website. A lot of articles there. Pete Cataldo on Twitter and Pete Cataldo on Instagram. Reach out. I'm always open in my DMs. Send me a message. We'll chat. I'm happy to help out.
Yeah, I'll place that. I'll place those links in the show notes. So look below for those, and you can find Pete, follow him, look at his stuff. Again, you can, even if you don't like the fat loss stuff, he does post pictures of his children who are adorable. So you can always, come
for the fat loss stuff, stay for the children. Because
exactly,
my little interns.
yeah, exactly. So Pete, it was great having you on today. Appreciate your time and everything like that. And yeah, I hope you have a great day, and hopefully you enjoy your quarantine over there.
I appreciate it. Thanks. I had a great time. Great conversation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. Have a great day, man.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Simply Fitness podcast. Because you listened to this episode, I want to give you something away for free. In the show notes, I have a link to my free fat loss cookbook. This cookbook contains over 20 recipes that are specifically designed to help you lose weight. They are filled with protein, they are simple to make, and they take away that bland, boring diet food. So if you want to upgrade your diet today, go to the show notes, click on the link, and go get your free fat loss cookbook. And make sure you come back for more episodes of the Simply Fitness podcast.